Hi guys, my name is Nick Broughton and I am a Randomfish. Hit the subscribe button and let's all be random fishes together, shall we? So, in this quarantine we are doing a lot less than we thought. While my days were usually spent outside in the real world attempting to do things that one would do in the real world, I find myself watching more Netflix than I thought I normally would be. And in a bid to sort of get out of the Netflix only funk as well, I started browsing their films and everything else and trying to find something that captured my childhood, or at least captured a certain point in time in my life. Now, I will be honest, I am a big fan of 90s films, and in a way a big fan of 80s films as well, but 90s films are more my style, as you can clearly tell from the backwards hat. I'm kind of embedded in the 90s, so that's kind of how I roll. But here's what I know. In 2003, a film was released called What a Girl Wants. Now, this film starred an actress who, quite frankly, she's taken a hiatus from acting. And while I respect everyone has their choices to make, and she obviously had other things going on in her personal life that she clearly didn't want to be reassociated with her acting career, I have to say, honestly, we miss you. We miss you in roles. We miss you in movies. You were a good actress. And that person that I'm talking about is Amanda Burns. Did I say that last name right? I don't know, I never really worried about how to say their names. I only sort of cared if they were on the poster or, in the movie itself. I never really bothered to, if they were written in a weird way. I never bothered about it, but still. But Amanda Burns was a very gifted actress, and could still be. I have not, obviously she's not in anything these days, so it's very hard to gauge what her acting abilities are still like. But if you want to have a sample of her work, I mean, for example, you can look at the likes of Hairspray, She's the Man, a rather popular modern uptake on Twelfth Night, which was very cool. And then, of course, the film that I'm talking about today, What a Girl Wants. This movie has so many good points and yet so many bad ones as well. And I say this using an ancient and powerful cliche known only amongst certain circles of critics within the world of media. And it is the lesser spotted concept of going, I am British, you are American. Stop writing us like you understand us. Because you don't. You really, really don't. Now, I'm not going to go so far as to say that I think all the characters who play British characters in this film are bad, because they're not. But it does fall into a very painful stereotype that was made very clear during the late 90s, early 2000s era. And that was the ever so lovely concept of going, British people are all posh, aren't they? Or at least the main characters who are British have to be posh, with the exception of the one character who's just like the American. Okay, first of all, Americans, don't imagine that you are the relaxed people that can come in and change the status quo in this country, because, well, I mean, for God's sake, look at yourselves for starters. Don't even try and compare it to us. I mean, you're all just as bad as each other. But here's the thing. Even with all of that, we are an inherently sarcastic, witty, funny, and we're also the country that created the likes of Bottom, Monty Python, and a whole bunch of, and the Mighty Boosh, just to name those three, actually. Now, I understand that there is an American in Monty Python, and I get that, and I do understand that there is a very real sense of combining our entertainment world with your entertainment world. I get it, believe me. But I really feel like this whole cultural appropriation thing between the two of us really should not have gone that far. To the point where I swear, if Americans stopped writing British people as either a bunch of cockney idiots who constantly sound like this, silly Gav, over and over again, then we British would stop trying to write Americans in our British-only films sometimes, at least at that time period, of being constantly with the Texas accent and what the heck is going on here, Pete? I don't know there, Johnny. Oh my God, let's go to our room and make out. Also, The Tiger King. It's available on Netflix. But why does this bother me? It shouldn't bother me. It's all a case of entertainment. Why does this bug me? It bugs me because, for some strange reason, the only way that we have been able to move forward, as it were, as a culture and as a species, is by understanding each other. And honestly, I can say this for British films as much as I can for American films. Those British screenwriters or British directors who write certain characters as the big dumb Texan, we're just as wrong. But the big thing here is that in this film, Daphne, played by Amanda Bynes, is a free-loving, happy American girl who's very relaxed, very goes with the flow, and she goes to England to meet her actual father, a guy called Henry, played by Colin Firth when he was still funny. Honestly, buddy, I love you, but I think your comedy kind of died out with Mamma Mia. Just saying. Ugh, that movie. But anyway, Colin Firth is her father. But he is now engaged to be married to some really annoying social ladder climbing woman, and her daughter, who's going to become his stepdaughter. She's also very annoying. These are the kind of characters that egg me. The kind of things that really, to use a term from Peter Griffin, here's what really grinds my gears. It's those two characters, okay? Those two characters, they do nothing. And suddenly I'm sounding like an Italian American. That's not good. But that's my point. These two characters represent this. It's still a minority in terms of their type of comedy and their type of, for lack of any other better term, bitchiness to the main character. It is minimalized to those two alone. And I get that. They're both horrible people that not even, the character of Henry really wants anything to do with once he finds out how awful they are as people. That's fine. We push that to one side. But what got me the most is that the character who plays her father, the fiancé's father, who is played by the actor who played Governor Swan in Pirates of the Caribbean. That's how I know him, that's how he'll always stay to me. But the internal problem with that is that unfortunately, he is just as bad, and he is also worse because he manipulated everything into motion, including the story, which is good because that means there actually is a story and there actually is a plot. But I'm sorry, someone who is that awful of a person is not someone who I can honestly feel like is representing my country well. Now, I understand there are other characters. You have the two other British characters. You have Henry, and then you also have what becomes Daphne's boyfriend, Ian, played by some dude who I don't think I've ever seen in anything else since this one movie. Sounds about right. I'm sorry, but he does. He's a musician type, and he's normal British accent. He talks, they flirt, they kiss, they do all the lovely romantic comedy stuff that they do. But those two are the only good representations. They are. Henry is a little bit flabbergasted. He's being Colin Firth. in this movie. That's literally it. And he relaxes, and he's a good guy, really, but he's struggling with this thing about trying to live up to social standards. Now, that's the other thing that gets me. And don't get me wrong, politicians in England, even today, are held up to those kind of standards, those behavioural standards, all that sort of thing. That's fine. They sit there and go, we have to act a certain way because we're a member of Parliament, because we're the Prime Minister, because we're a member of the royal family. Hashtag Harry and Meghan. But still, I'm sorry, I had to do that joke. But the problem is that politicians in this country, even today, have to hold themselves up to those kind of standards, but it's not identifiable. And that's where it comes from for me. This film is meant to really encapsulate this idea, not only of an American being a fish out of water story, an American being in England, I get that, but at the same time, those of us who are watching it who are in fact British, I feel we should connect to the other characters at some point in this movie. And I'm sorry, with the exception maybe of the character of Ian and maybe Henry towards the end, or maybe even the middle of the film in some cases, apart from those two sections, there isn't a single character, a main character in this entire film who is British, who I can personally identify with. Now, I get it. That's a real minimal whinging period for a lot of people, for a lot of these sorts of films. And I understand there are other things that you could possibly gripe on. I mean, the entirely, the easily predictable way this story goes. The fact that you could tell exactly what was going wrong at the beginning of the film, even if you hadn't realised what was going on in previous films. You would get this, it's that obvious. The film does have a liar reveal moment, but it's not done too much, which I have to be slightly relieved about. There's certain liar reveal stories I like, and there's some that I really hate. And honestly, this film is gearing up to be one that I hated as a concept. I really did. But it's mostly a fish out of water, father trying to connect with daughter story. And that's nice, it's sweet, it's lovely, it's Colin Firth and Amanda Burns trying to be father-son duo. It's lovely. The film ends with them having a little dance at a wedding that her mother is singing for. That's it. That's this movie in a nutshell. It's a bunch of random slow dancing moments, it's a few parties, it's Colin Firth being Colin Firth, there's a couple of bitch moments that frankly made me want to slap those two particular characters. You know who you are. Oh, and there's a creepy thing involving twins that look really frumpy at the beginning, and then she makes them out to look slightly hotter. And then all of a sudden these two other twins, these two dude twins, turn up and start flirting with the two girl twins. And they're all identical and they go off. And all I can sit there is thinking to myself, no! Because if you both get together, then it's immediately creepy because your brother's girlfriend is your sister. And then if you get married, what? What is happening? And how can you tell each other, what? What? I'm getting a slight headache. This film is okay. That's the thing that's making this funny for me, because this film is not terrible. But there's so many annoying things in it that make me, as an Englishman, traditionally go, what? A lot of the time. And honestly, she travels to England. This is set in 2003, yet the points where she's introduced to British higher-up society, I get there are parties and the way things are done like that, and I'm fine with that. But at the same time, every time she goes to a party, it feels like you've been pressing the rewind button on the time date of the movie, and it's like it's gone back to the 1800s. Or gone back to Victorian style. One of those! Anyway. How is this film overall? It's serviceable. It's nice. The reason I liked this film is because I genuinely liked Amanda in this. The character of Daphne is done well. She is portrayed well. But what made me annoyed and what made me decide to do this video about this movie is my enragement as a Brit while watching these other Brits. But I can say that Daphne was done well, and her mother was portrayed well. And like I said, Henry and Ian, yes. I do a lot of, I feel like in my heart of hearts I would trash the likes of Colin Firth and Hugh Grant the minute I met them. But at the same time, I do have enormous respect for them because they are able somehow to bring across this level of stuttery charm that appears to have carried them pretty well throughout their careers. I mean, I personally wouldn't do that because, frankly, I think that's a dumb idea to begin with, but hey, what do I know? Apparently a big load of nothing, but still. But hey, this is what we do. And you know what? Random Fishes, go check out that movie. Also subscribe and check out any other video that you can find. And on that note, Random Fish out.